Your first interview?
Well, it's not my first interview, but it's my first formal interview of this type, yeah.
Why has it taken so long?
Well, I've done a lot of media interactions prior. I've done press conferences and I've spoken to the media, but mainly my focus, the bulk of my focus has been in internal party work, and that's where I've been concentrating. So that's where most of my energy was going.
Or is it that you've been reluctant to communicate more on a one-to-one basis?
No, not at all. I've had many press conferences that you've seen, so I don't.
It's not that you wanted to avoid touching on difficult or tough issues.
No, I mean I like difficult or tough issues. I like dealing with that.
So now that this is your first detailed and long interview round in 10 years, we have a lot of ground to cover.
Sure.
So I have one request to you right at the start, that let's be as specific as possible on the subjects that we deal with today. Do I have your agreement on that?
Yeah, I mean we'll be specific, but if I would like to sort of explain things in a bit in a broader fashion, I think
okay,
that would be okay with you guys.
And if I want to draw you back into specifics,
so you can draw me back as much as you want.
Okay. So Rahul Gandhi, the first point is this, that you've just avoided this whole question about whether you're open for the Prime Minister's post.
Yeah.
It seems to me,
yeah,
Rahul, that you're avoiding a difficult contest.
See, if you look at the speech I gave in the AICC just a few days back, the issue is basically how the Prime Minister in this country is chosen. Where the Prime Minister is chosen in this country is through the MPs. Our system basically chooses MPs, and then the MPs elect the Prime Minister. I said pretty clearly in my speech in AICC that if the Congress Party so chooses, and the Congress Party wants me to do anything for them, I'm happy to do that. It's respect for the process. In fact, announcing your Prime Minister prior to an election, announcing your Prime Minister without asking the members of Parliament is not actually was written in the Constitution.
You did that in 2009?
No, we didn't.
Of course you did.
No. What we did in 2009 was that we had an incumbent Prime Minister. Prime Minister won the election. He then went to Parliament. The members of Parliament decided that Prime Minister was going to continue, and there was actually a process where he was asked.
You named your prime ministerial candidate, Rahul.
We had an incumbent Prime Minister, and there was no question of our changing him.
See, Rahul, we can go up and down on this question.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is this: who else will they choose?
No.
Who else will Congress MPs choose but Rahul Gandhi?
That's up to them, right? But what one has to do, and I think this is central to what I keep saying, is democracy is about respect of processes. Democracy is about non-arbitrary decisions. Democracy is about spreading decisions. It's not about destroying processes. There is a process in the Constitution. That process says, and it's clearly written in the Constitution, it says, members of Parliament are to be elected by the population, and members of Parliament are to elect the Prime Minister. All I'm doing is respecting that process.
Are you avoiding a direct face-off with Narendra Modi? Is there a fear of loss, Rahul? Because this election, frankly, is not looking very good for the Congress Party from overall estimates. And the growing belief is that if Rahul Gandhi has not picked up the challenge officially, that means there is a fear of loss. He's avoiding a direct one-on-one battle with Mr. Narendra Modi. Rahul, you must answer that now.
To understand that question, you have to understand a little bit about what Rahul Gandhi is and what Rahul Gandhi's circumstances have been. And if you delve into that, you'll get an answer to the question of what Rahul Gandhi is scared of and what he's not scared of. So the real question, right, is what I'm doing sitting here. You're a journalist. When you were small, you must have thought to yourself, I want to do something, right? You decided to become a journalist at some point. But why did you do that?
You're asking me the question.
I'm asking you the question. This is a conversation.
Because I like and enjoy being a journalist, and because it is a professional challenge for me. My question to you is, Rahul.
No, I'm going to answer the question.
Are you avoiding a direct face-off with Narendra?
I'm going to answer the question, but I just want to ask you: when you were young and you thought about being a journalist, what drove you?
Once I decided to become a journalist, I cannot be half a journalist. Once you've decided to get into politics and you are leading your party effectively, you can't be leading your party by half. So I throw the question, Rahul, with respect back at you. And my question to you is, Narendra Modi is challenging you on a daily basis.
So I'll answer. You're not answering the question I asked you, but I'll answer the question. That will give you some insight into how Rahul Gandhi thinks. Okay, and for that I'll have to expand a little bit about my growing up, how I grew up, the circumstances I grew up in. What I saw when I was a child was my father, who was a pilot, and because of circumstances was thrown into the political system. And all I saw when I was small, after my grandmother died, was my father in constant combat with the system in India. And then I saw him die, actually, right? In my life, I've seen my grandmother die, I've seen my father die, I've seen my grandmother go to jail, and I've actually been through a tremendous amount of pain as a child, when these things happen to you. I mean, there's absolutely what I had to be scared of, I lost. There's absolutely nothing I'm scared of. I have an aim. I have a clear aim in my mind. And the aim is that I do not like what I see in Indian politics. It's something that is inside my heart. It's like when, in our mythology, when they talk about Arjun, he only sees one thing. He doesn't see anything else. You ask me about Mr. Modi, you ask me about anything, I only see one thing. And the thing I see is that the system in this country needs to change. I don't see anything. I'm blind to everything else. Okay? I'm blind because I saw people I loved being destroyed by this system. I'm blind because this system every day is unfair to our people. I asked you today, you come from Assam, and I'm sure that you also in your work feel the unfairness of this system. You're not going to answer my question, so we're not going to go there. But this system every day hurts people. Okay? And I felt the pain that the system can cause. I felt the pain with my father. I saw him every single day of his life. So the question of whether I'm afraid of losing an election, or whether I'm afraid of Mr. Modi, or whether I'm afraid of these things it's not actually the point. What I want to do, I'm here basically for one thing. I see tremendous energy in this country. I see more energy in this country than I see in any other country. I see billions of youngsters. And I see that this energy is trapped. And this energy is trapped for a couple of things. And this energy is trapped...
Can I draw you back to my question?
Yeah.
I will go into those areas, and I respect what you're telling me about your personal journey. It's not, Rahul, as if I lack empathy for what you're saying. Yeah. In fact, I'm sure many people do. But my question to you is, Narendra Modi calls you a Shehzada. Now let's be very specific, Rahul. Narendra Modi calls you a Shehzada. What is your view of Narendra Modi? A. B. Are you afraid of losing to Narendra Modi? Rahul, please answer my question as specifically as you can.
What Rahul Gandhi wants to do is Rahul Gandhi and millions of youngsters in this country want to change the way the system in this country works. What Rahul Gandhi wants to do is empower the women in this country, wants to unleash the power of these women. I mean, we talk about being a superpower.
You're avoiding my question.
No, I'm not avoiding a question.
My question to you is, what is the Congress Vice President's view of the BJP's prime ministerial candidate?
I think we'll defeat the BJP in the next election.
And what is your view of the BJP's prime ministerial candidate?
The BJP has a prime ministerial candidate. The BJP believes in concentration of power in the hands of one person. I fundamentally disagree with that. I believe in democracy. I believe in opening up the system. I believe in the RTI. I believe in giving power to our people. We have fundamentally different philosophies.
What is your view? Would you like to expound your views? The Prime Minister, your Prime Minister accuses Narendra Modi in his press conference of presiding over, and I quote, the mass massacre of innocent citizens on the street of Ahmedabad. Mr. Rahul Gandhi, my question to you is this. Do you agree with your Prime Minister when he says that?
Well, I mean, what the Prime Minister is saying is a fact. I mean, Gujarat happened, people died. But the real issue, as far as I'm concerned...
How do you accuse Mr. Narendra Modi of it?
No, Gujarat happened, people died. The real issue at hand here...
How is Mr. Modi responsible for it?
He was Chief Minister when Gujarat happened.
Well, the fact remains that Narendra Modi has been given a clean chit in the Gulbarg massacre case by the SIT and the court, Mr. Gandhi. My question to you is, can the Congress party sustain its attack on Mr. Narendra Modi on this issue when he has been given the clean chit by the courts in the Gujarat riots?
The Congress party and the BJP have two completely different philosophies. Our attack on the BJP is based on the idea that this country needs to move forward democratically. It needs to push democracy deeper into the country. It needs to push democracy into the villages. It needs to give women democratic power. It needs to give youngsters democratic power. It is about opening the doors of the Congress party, about empowering the youth.
How is Narendra Modi responsible for the Gujarat riots? When the courts have given him a clean chit, politically your party's tack is to criticize Narendra Modi and draw him into the Gujarat riots.
Our political party is fighting an ideological battle against the BJP. And let me draw out the two pillars. Our party believes that women should be empowered, that democracy should go to every house, that the RTI, the Narega paradigm should be further expanded. The BJP believes that power should be extremely concentrated in this country. Few people should run this country. And the large mass of people in this country should have no voice.
But specifically speaking, how is Narendra Modi? Your party criticized him for the 2002 Gujarat riots. How can you do that when he has been given a clean chit in the Gulbarg massacre by the SIT and the court? It was challenged in the court. The court upheld the SIT findings, and therefore, legally speaking, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, you cannot draw Narendra Modi into the Gujarat riots, implicate him personally. Do you believe that strategy of your party is fundamentally wrong?
The strategy of my party is very simple. Everything that we have done over the last 5 years, 10 years. In fact, if you look all the way back to the freedom movement, every single thing we've ever done is empower people. We empowered people in the freedom movement. We empowered farmers in the Green Revolution. We empowered the citizens of India when we did the telecom revolution. We've empowered millions and millions of people through, frankly, the most powerful legislation that has taken place in this country, called the RTI, Right to Information. Things that used to be closed, things that were in closed doors that nobody knew about.
I'll come to that, but you haven't answered my question on the Gujarat riots. Gujarat riots is the question. Your party has consistently wanted to put Mr. Narendra Modi on the back foot on the Gujarat riot. He says the courts have given me a clean chit. And I'm asking you today, is your party's argument about putting him on the back foot on the Gujarat riots flawed, given the way the courts have looked?
The Prime Minister stated his position on the Gujarat riots. The Gujarat riots took place, people died. Mr. Narendra Modi was in charge of Gujarat at that point. I am bringing you to the real ideological battle that is taking place here. The real ideological battle that is taking place here, and the one we are going to win, and that has always been won in this country, is the battle of empowering people in this country. Of course, there is your point about the Gujarat riots, and it is very important that people who have taken part in this type of thing are brought to book. But the real issue at hand here is empowering the women of this country, giving them true power. We talk about superpower. We talk about superpower, India being a superpower. We can only be half a superpower if our women are not empowered, right? What I want to do going forward is basically focus on three things. Focus on empowering our people, truly empowering our people, giving them democratic rights within the political party. I want youngsters who come in and really, really push democracy in the party. I want to empower them, and I want to make India, together with everybody, taking everybody together, I want to put India on the manufacturing map. I want to make this the center of manufacturing in the world. I want to make this place at least as much as a manufacturing power as China is.
You say that Narendra Modi was chief minister during the Gujarat riots. The BJP was in power. The BJP was as much in power in Gujarat during the riots, right, as Akhilesh is in power in Uttar Pradesh, or for that matter, as the Congress party. was in power when the 1984 anti-Sikh riots happened. Now, let me quote. You spoke in one of your speeches of the anger of your grandmother's death. I think it was on the campaign trail in Rajasthan. You spoke about knowing the people who killed her. And you spoke about anger and managing your own anger and quelling your own anger and drawing it into strength elsewhere. Now that speech of yours became a subject of controversy with Narendra Modi posing a series of questions to you in 84. And he said the following, and I want to quote him, and I want your categorical and specific response. He says, he's crying for the assassination of his grandmother. But has he shed tears for those killed in the 1984 riots? I want to ask the Shehzada, and you remember Mr. Gandhi, he's constantly deriding you by calling you a Shehzada, whether your party killed Sikhs in anger when your grandmother died. So following from this, I have two questions. My first question is, do you acknowledge the role of congressmen in the 1984 riots? B, will you apologize for the riots as your party demands an apology from Modi for the Gujarat riots?
Well, two things. In 1977, when my grandmother lost the election, we went and lived in 12 building in Crescent. And the people who came with my grandmother, those people who stood by my grandmother, were Sikhs. Pretty much everybody had deserted my grandmother, but the Sikhs were standing with my grandmother. Okay, I think the Sikhs are probably one of the most industrious people in this country. I admire them. We have a Prime Minister who's a Sikh. See, I don't have the same world view as my opposition. What those two people did to my grandmother, right, was two individuals. I don't turn around and take my anger, which existed then, frankly doesn't exist now, and brush it onto an entire community. That's just not me.
No, I'm sure you don't, but my question was, do you acknowledge the role of congressmen in the 1984 riots? Because there must be justice. Mr. Gandhi, there has to be finality. The Gujarat riots cases have moved forward and many people have got justice. If I just compare that to the 1984 riots, you can look at the status and case history of what happened with Sajjan Kumar, Jagdish Titler, HKL Bhagat, Dharamdas Shastri. And the one story which you hear there is that the cases are endless. They go on for the longest period of time. I'm asking you again, Mr. Gandhi, before you seek an apology from Modi, would you apologize for the 1984 riots? Would that be something you consider?
I do not take my anger, which existed, on two people, two individuals who did something evil and wrong, and overlay it on millions of people. I think that's criminal, okay? Did the Sikh riots take place in Delhi? Absolutely. Were they completely wrong? Absolutely.
Were congressmen involved?
Did innocent people die? Absolutely.
Were congressmen involved?
Some congressmen probably were involved.
But has justice been delivered?
There is a legal process through which they have gone.
You admit some congressmen were probably involved?
Some congressmen have been punished for it.
In that case, why don't you apologize for the 1984 riots? The congressmen who you are talking about are still fighting their cases, and in 2009, if I am not mistaken, Jagdish Titler, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, was going to get nominated as a Congress candidate. It was only following the media furor that his nomination was taken back. Mr. Gandhi, I'm asking you this question with all seriousness. Do you feel that congressmen were involved? And two, do you believe that you personally, if you apologize for the riots, there will be a finality?
The fact of the matter is that innocent people died in 1984. And innocent people dying is a horrible thing and should not happen, okay? The difference between Gujarat and 1984 was that the government of Gujarat was involved in the riots. The government.
How do you say that?
The
Chief Minister of Gujarat has been given the clean sheet by the courts.
The difference between the 84 riots and the riots in Gujarat was that in 1984, the government was trying to stop the riots. I remember, I was a child then, I remember that the government was doing everything it could to stop the riots. In Gujarat, the opposite was the case. The government in Gujarat was actually abetting and pushing the riots further. So there's a huge difference between the two things. Saying that innocent people dying is absolutely wrong.
Explain that. Government of Gujarat was aiding and abetting the riots, is what you just said. Explain that.
I mean, it's not me. It's large numbers of people who were there. It's large numbers of people who saw actively the government of Gujarat being involved in the riots.
And you keep that line despite the Chief Minister getting a clean sheet from the courts?
I mean, people saw it. I'm not the person who saw it. Your colleagues saw it. Your colleagues told me.
They saw riots. They didn't see the government of Gujarat.
They saw the administration. They saw the administration actively attacking minorities.
Are you saying the government of Gujarat was? What are you? What is?
What I'm saying is that there was a difference between the 1984 riots and the riots in Gujarat. The difference was that the government in 1984 was trying to stop the riots, was trying to stop the killing, whereas the government in Gujarat was allowing the riots.
And if the government in Delhi and in the centre was trying to stop the riots in 1984, then tell me, how is it possible that Sajjan Kumar was named in FIRs on grounds of inciting violence in Outer Delhi leading to the murder of Sikhs? The status of the case is known. How is Jagdish Tytler accused of inciting the mob at Pul Bangash leading to murder and rioting in the area? How is the late HKL Bhagat accused of inciting violence? And you know that appeal in the Delhi High Court was closed after his death. How did these Congress leaders do what they did allegedly if the government was so strongly and proactively acting
against the riots? There's a process. There's a legal process, and that process is on.
There was an SIT finding. It was challenged by Zakia Jafri. It went up there, and the courts upheld what the SIT found. Are you questioning the wisdom of the courts, Mr.
All I'm saying is that there is a difference between the 1984 riots and the Gujarat riots. The simple difference is that in 1984, the government was not involved in the massacre of people. In Gujarat, it was. The question is, why do these type of things take place? Why is it that the Gujarat riots take place? The Gujarat riots take place, frankly, because of the way our system is structured. Because of the fact that people do not have a voice in the system. And what I want to do, and I've said it and I will say it again, what I want to do is question the fundamentals over here. What I want to do is ask a couple of questions. I want to ask why candidates that are chosen in every single party are chosen by tiny number of people. I want to ask why women have to be scared to go out on the street. I want to ask these questions. These are fundamental questions.
I appreciate that you believe in transparency. I'll move away from Gujarat, though I must say that I have not found this comparison between 84 and Gujarat riots, that they are two different cases. I can't take this at face value, Mr. Gandhi, and the reason for this is because in both cases, the accusation is that the government could have done a little bit more. But at the same time, I want you to, once more, if you can substantiate, you stand by what you said, that you believe the Chief Minister and the government of Gujarat played a role in abetting the riots? You stand by what you said?
What I'm saying is, there is a difference between the 1984 riots and the Gujarat riots. The difference is that the government of the day in 1984 was not aiding and abetting the riots.
But that's all I'm saying. So you don't need to apologize for the 84 riots. If someone seeks an apology from you, will you give it? Your Prime Minister has apologized for the riots, expressed deep regret. Will you do the same?
First of all, I wasn't involved in the riots at all. I mean, it wasn't that I was part of it.
On behalf of your party?
I think the riots were not, as all riots, were a horrible event. Now, frankly, I was not in operation in the Congress party.
Mr. Gandhi, let's move on to the RTI, which is the single biggest legislation to combat corruption, which you said in your speech at the AICC, that was something that you were speaking about. Now, I find it ironical that a party which has 90.38% of its funds from cash between 2008 and 2012, 89.11% of its money in this period comes from unaccounted sources, unnamed sources. Why would you not say charity begins at home and let's put the Congress party and its funds under the scanner of the RTI?
Well,
why would you not bring the same freshness of perspective in this case as you brought when you dealt with the issue of the ordinance?
I think political parties should be under RTI if political parties feel, and it's a law that has to be passed in Parliament, If political parties unanimously feel that that is the case, it should be the case.
What will be your view on it?
My position is that the more openness, the better.
Your own view, personal view is that political parties should be under the RTI?
The issue is this. Laws in this country are passed by Parliament. What one needs to do is pass a law in Parliament that brings RTI into the political party.
Will the Congress...
I have a personal view on it, but you have to take that view through Parliament. I have a view also, for example, on the 6 bills that are sitting in Parliament.
No, I'll come to that, but my question is on the RTI. I want your view on it. Mr. Rahul Gandhi, you are a very influential politician. You have demonstrated some of your actions in the past that what you say and do can influence decisions in government and in Parliament. So my question to you is very significant. You said that in the AICC, you said, we enacted this revolutionary law to hand you power, knowing fully well that it would place our own government under severe scrutiny. I agree with you. What about placing your own party under scrutiny? So, are you open to that?
I am the first person who has been saying over the last 5 years, talking about transparency in the party. I have made the Youth Congress and the NSUI fully elected bodies. Okay. I have spoken about the 6 bills in Parliament. I have spoken about the Lokpal bill, and I have pushed the Lokpal bill. I was involved in the RTI. We worked together to bring the RTI. So, as far as transparency in the political party is concerned, I am absolutely for transparency.
I appreciate.
There are questions about the RTI that need to be discussed and thought through. The real question is that our system is based on different pillars, and the question is, which ones of these pillars should have RTI? Because if you only put RTI into one pillar and you don't have RTI in, for example, the judiciary and the press and in other areas, then you might create an imbalance. Am I for opening up? Am I for bringing RTI into as many places as possible? Absolutely. Am I for creating an imbalance and weakening the legislative structures of this country? No, I'm not.
How does placing politicians, how does putting political parties under the purview of the Right to Information Act, how does that actually weaken the legislative process? It brings in transparency.
No, it brings in transparency, but it changes the balance of power.
How?
Because the judiciary does not have RTI, the press does not have RTI, other components of the system do not have RTI.
The press does not rule the country?
No, it doesn't. But the press, okay, the judiciary does not have RTI. So you have to have a complete thinking. So if you want to bring RTI, you want to deepen RTI, you have to think about it in a composite manner. You cannot just say, okay, let's put RTI here, put RTI. You have to have a strategy to put RTI and open the system together. And as far as opening the system is concerned...
But you're willing to let a discussion happen on bringing political parties under the RTI?
Of course I am.
You're not opposed to that?
No, I'm not opposed to any discussion, ever. But
no, on this specific subject?
No, on all subjects. But one has to take care that one is not creating imbalances in the system. And that's something that one has to discuss.
Mr. Gandhi, do I sense that you were almost committing yourself and then pulled back?
No. I've said that I'm happy to have a discussion.
You're happy to have a discussion? On bringing political parties under RTI?
Absolutely.
Okay. Mr. Gandhi.
But let me just go back and let me go further than that. Okay. The main issue, if you look at the real serious, the central question in all this. The central question in all this is who chooses political candidates and how, right? The central issue in all this is what is the power of the member of parliament, the power of the MLA and the power of the Pradhan in the political system. If you look at the legislative power of a member of parliament, you look at the legislative power of an MLA today, and you look at the role that he plays in parliament and the role that he plays in the assembly. He doesn't actually make laws. He presses buttons. Okay? If you go to a state like Uttar Pradesh and you look at actually the lawmaking, the lawmaking done by the MLAs, extremely limited. You can't talk about bringing people into politics. You can't talk about opening up the system until you start to empower these people.
Understood. Was it part of the empowerment? Was it part of the empowerment of people that Ashok Chavan was protected in the other scam, despite the fact that the Judicial Commission actually said that he was involved in a quid pro quo? a chief minister, an ex-chief minister, forced to go because of one of the biggest scams, which was, by the way, Mr. Rahul Gandhi played out greatly on Times Now, is being protected. The CBI is not getting permission to prosecute.